Well, hello there. My name is Jody Scholes, and I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course. Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome back to studying. Whether you were studying this morning, studying last night, studying a week ago, studying a month ago, welcome back. And I've said to several people this week, it's not falling off the horse. That's the problem. The challenge is getting back up on the horse, right? So that's a metaphor for continuing to study. You know, you're riding the horse, you got this, and then boom, you like hit a branch and get knocked off. Well, this past weekend, so I'm talking about the first full moon in August of 2023, and we just went through that this weekend. And man, if emotions were high on Sunday and Monday, Tuesday, let's see, the actual full moon was Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Even your own emotions, right? It's like, whoa, why am I so fired up about that? Why am I so feeling this? A full moon can do that for us. And so just give yourself permission to be exactly where you're at and know that in this present moment, everything's okay. If you can hear my voice, everything's okay. Yes. So today we have 3 parts to class. I am super excited to bring you a brand new PowerPoint. But the 3 parts of class are our traditional 3 parts of class, which is the first part is some test taking strategy. And then we'll move into the learning. And that learning includes the third part, which is our dissecting of questions. And so welcome. Welcome to a very well-rounded learning experience. This past week, we had 2 students who passed their test. In fact, a week ago today, right in the middle of class, we had a graduate log in. And, you know, if you guys arrive late, I'm always going to let you in. But we had a graduate log in and turn on their microphone and went, I passed. And I was like, I couldn't understand what Kemi was saying. And I was like, oh, welcome, hi. And I just put her on mute and continued to teach. And later we found out that she had just finished her test and saw that we were still in class and wanted to share the good news with us. So we've had really good news. A couple, two students actually passed this past week. And I share that with you on our Patreon site as well, so that you can feel that encouragement. And I wanted to let you know your test taking strategy for this week. I wanted to remind you that if the questions seem hard on the MBLEx, that's actually good news. In fact, Paige, when she sent me her feedback about her experience with the MBLEx this past Saturday, I think it was Saturday she passed, she said, oh, Jody, the questions started getting really hard. And she said, but I knew that I must be doing well if I was getting such hard questions. Yes, that is the point of me explaining to you the questions get harder. The MBLEx is what's called a computer adaptive test. So it adapts. Based on your answers, it's going to adapt. And that just means when you get an answer correct, the next question is going to be a little harder. Now, if you get a question wrong, the next question is going to be a little easier. And your goal is simply to score 660 points. And every question is worth different points. Now, you may be saying, Jody, why is it good news? Why is it good news if my questions are getting harder? That's not good news. Actually, it's good news because the harder questions are worth more points. Now, you do need to register at least a satisfactory score in all of the categories. But you can be really good at a few, and that helps. You do need to pass them all because this is a competency test, right? But when you score higher and you're getting certain questions, you're getting these tough questions on your screen, that tells me that you've done very well in that category. So you can celebrate. You can actually kind of feel a little good about getting a hard question because that means you're scoring more points. That's what's called a computer adaptive test. And not a lot of students understand that going in their first time. And so I want to arm you. I want to give you that tool in your mental toolbox to know that if those questions are getting harder, then that's a good sign. All right. Let's switch our screens around here. And we will move into our learning. I am happy to take questions at the end of class. I spend about an extra 10, 15 minutes after I stop the recording to answer any of your questions. So if you've got questions about the computer adaptive test or about anything we're covering today, do go ahead and jot them down and we'll address them at the end of class. Today, as I mentioned, we have a brand new PowerPoint because we are doing anatomy of the upper body, but we are doing anatomy of the organs. We are going to review all of the organs, not all, well, like 17 of the organs of the upper body and tell you what their function is. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. So as I mentioned, welcome back. Welcome back. Woo-hoo. This is the learning part of our course. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about internal organs and their functions. Just making sure you can see all this. Okay. If you can't see something, feel free to let me know. Just shoot it in the chat. Here's the chat. The chat. So if you can't hear, you can't see, please let me know. And I want to say a special thank you to Martin, who's probably a doctor by now, but he prepared a number of these slides for another presentation and shared them publicly. And so we've got the best of both worlds, the medical point of view and the massage point of view. So these are internal organs and their functions. Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Awesome. Ooh. So here's a picture of the internal organs of the human body. And so we're going to focus on upper body today, the upper body anatomy and the anatomy. So what are organs? Organs are essential parts of our body that perform vital functions. These organs combine to make systems of the body, and we study mostly the systems of the body. But here are some examples of the internal organs of the body. There are 12 systems of the body. Here are those systems that we normally study. In the concept of how we normally study them, we normally look at a system and then we identify the anatomy, the organs that are a part of that system. 2 or more organs make a system, but these should look familiar. Integumentary. What is the integumentary? Skeletal system, the muscular, nervous, digestive, endocrine system, cardiovascular, lymphatic, respiratory, urinary, sometimes called the waste or the excretory system, and then the reproductive system. So we're going to look at the organs that compose each of these systems. So organs are a collection of tissue. Technically, we have 78 in our entire body, but we have 5 vital organs. 5 vital organs: the heart, the lungs, the brain, the kidneys, and the liver. I don't have a mnemonic device for that, meaning HBKLL, if somebody has someone for that, but 5 vital organs: heart, brains, kidney, liver, lungs. And so here are the internal organs that we'll review today with their function. The font is a little small as far as what they do, but you're going to see it in just a few minutes. I want to point out a couple of organs that we don't normally talk about. We are going to talk about the brain today. We are going to talk about the thymus, and not to be confused with the thyroid. The thyroid is a gland. So thymus, thyroid. We're going to talk about the stomach. We're going to talk about both the large and small intestines. So let's get to it, eh? All right. So straight up anatomy class, a little bit of massage. Here's the heart. And the heart's main function is circulation of the blood. That's why the heart is a key part of the circulatory system. So its main function is to circulate the blood, pump the blood through the rest of the body. The heart technically is a muscle, and it pumps. The lungs are another part of the vital organs, and the lungs allow us to breathe. The lungs are a part of the respiratory system. The lungs and the heart are protected by the rib cage. The lungs allow us to breathe, so we inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. The function of breathing allows us to get oxygen into our blood. The process of exhaling, breathing in, breathing out, that's called respiration. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing out gets rid of carbon dioxide. Now, what you may not remember right off the top of your head is that the lungs also produce mucus. The respiratory system, that we have all sorts of mucus producers in our body. And that is to allow a way to get rid of, to exhale, to eliminate any germs that we've inhaled from attacking those organs or getting into our bloodstream. So mucus collects germs. And so I encourage you, when it's time to sneeze, sneeze. If it's time to cough, and you cough up stuff, your body is eliminating it. Now, sometimes green stuff means you're sick, right? But just know that's one of the functions, one of the way our bodies stay healthy is by eliminating mucus, also called phlegm. The liver, the next organ that we're taking a look at. And the reason this is important, and I'm going to just stop the share here for a minute and go back to our view of everybody. The reason these are important is because you're asked about the benefits of massage, the benefits of massage to these different systems of the body. But if you do not know the vital role that these organs play, it's very difficult to determine the benefit. So let's hop on. The liver. The liver does so much, and it gets, we mostly know the liver for its detoxification, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But the liver produces some essential proteins and hormones. It helps to regulate metabolism. And if you know anything about the process of glycogen synthesis, the liver is directly responsible. In fact, in some athletes, when they go when they change their diet too much to include too much protein and not enough carbohydrate, there's a problem that happens with the liver, kyphosis of the liver. But the liver is regulating the carbohydrate metabolism. It's regulating those processes of the glycogen synthesis. That the glycogen is some sugar that's in our body, but it's a different kind of sugar. But the liver also produces bile, and bile contains water, electrolytes, lipids, and bile is very important in the digestive process. So the liver is actually very important in the digestive process, and technically it's part of the digestive system. The liver also helps the gallbladder to digest fats. It is responsible for the generation of what they call coagulation factors. So when we get a cut, it helps our blood to coagulate, to clot. That happens in the generation of those coagulants is in the liver. It regulates our triglycerides, so it regulates our cholesterol and our triglycerides. And what most of us know the liver for is the toxins, right? So it's getting rid of waste products, and that can be, oh my goodness, so many different things. But we know lactic acid, uric acid, ammonia, any infectious agents. The liver is the superhero as far as detoxification. Now, the liver work hand in hand with the kidneys. The kidneys are found in the back of our back. So if you were to take your hands and just put them on this, what you call the small of your back, just above the butt, below the rib cage, if you've got your anatomy, if your muscular anatomy is strong, you may know that's the location of the quadratus lumborum, the muscles there. But under the quadratus lumborum are the kidneys. And they're in the posterior part. Their main function, the kidney's main function, is to filter the blood. And so it eliminates waste from the blood. And the kidneys use filters that are called nephrons. And so the study of the kidneys, the doctors who know a lot about the kidneys, the study of the kidneys is called nephrology, because those nephrons are the filters. So if you see something on the MBLEx that has NEPH, nephrology, nephrons, they are talking about the kidneys. They are talking about urine. They are talking about filtering the blood, because the kidneys filter the blood. Ooh, let's take a look at this picture. The waste that is filtered by the kidneys is going to come out the urinal, through the urine. And you'll see the anatomy here. Here's the kidneys. The adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. And these are the ureters. So from the kidneys, this is how the waste product gets down to the bladder. And so when the bladder fills up with fluid, it's expelled through the urethra. So the ureters, with no H, ureter, is the attachment of the kidney to the bladder, but the urethra is after the bladder. And we'll take a look at that in the urinary system again. But the kidney is responsible for the formation of urine. And so that's mostly getting rid of uric acid. Moving along to the pancreas. We're going through 17 organs today, so I'm moving at a good clip. And just as a reminder, I'll let you take a peek at this kidney picture again. You may have learned this in massage school, you may not have. This video will be posted again on the Patreon site, and allow you to go through it and pause and take notes. I'm moving at a good clip because we've got a lot of organs to cover. We've got some questions to dissect, and I'm hoping that this is kind of a review. I mean, I'm going a little bit more in depth than just the kidneys are responsible for urine. We're going into the system, right? We're going into how they connect to the other parts. We're focusing on the organ, and we're looking at the other organs that it supports. All right, let's move along to the pancreas. Oh, the pancreas. You know, the picture kind of looks like a corn on the cob to me. Maybe because it's summer, maybe because it's yellow or it's yellowish. But here, take a look at this. Here's the liver, the big old liver, right? It sits up like kind of under the diaphragm. Right here, this green thing is the gallbladder. And the gallbladder connects to the pancreas. So these guys are working together. So pancreas is also a part of the digestive system. It's located in the right part of the abdomen. The liver is the left part, the right part is the pancreas. And the pancreas secretes, so it emits, it lets go of, it produces the digestive enzymes. So the pancreas really has two roles. It produces digestive enzymes that helps to digest the food. And then also another major function of the pancreas is producing insulin. And you know insulin, right? So insulin is produced by the pancreas, and diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is a adult onset condition. So an adult onset condition caused by either diet, lack of exercise, or an external force. There are two types of diabetes, right? Type 2 is up to me. Type 1, you're born with it. It is the pancreas is damaged. If you're born type 1 diabetes, someone maybe who wears an insulin patch, an insulin, like a little insulin, what is that called? I forget, but the little thing on the side where insulin regularly injects into their system, that's typically type 1. They're born with it. They've had it their whole life. Because of the diet that we have here in the US, which is a lot of refined sugar, a lot of artificial sugars, the pancreas can get confused and it can overwork. So we put some saccharin, some NutraSweet, some artificial sugar. I'm not talking about like real sugar. I'm talking about artificial sugar that's even sweeter. So all those diet drinks, zero drinks, artificial sweetener. An artificial sweetener tricks our pancreas because we taste it. Digestion actually starts in the mouth. So we taste something sweet and a signal goes out. Yo, pancreas, get ready. Put out some insulin. But when the food actually gets to the stomach, which we'll see in just a moment, the pancreas has released the insulin that it thinks it needs for the artificial sweetener. But insulin doesn't digest artificial sweetener. And therefore, a condition can happen, can result, called insulin resistance. And the pancreas says, oh yeah, I know. It's sweet, right? You can't fool me. I'm not sending out any insulin. And the body becomes resistant to producing insulin because it's not being used. The other side of that coin is that it produces so much insulin that the body's not working the same way it used to. And so artificial sweeteners are tricking the pancreas into overworking and can result in a pre-diabetic condition. Also, just sweets in general, lack of exercise. There's all sorts of things that can contribute to type 2 diabetes. That is a pathology, right? Type 2 diabetes. Yeah. And so we just want to be intentional For me, I recommend to my clients, eat the sugar. What the hell? Now, there's lots of my clients who have said, oh, no, 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 I love my Diet Coke. Don't take my Diet Coke away. My Diet Coke is my coffee. You gonna take your coffee away? Look, all things in moderation, right? And so as long as there's no issues, as long as there's no change in the client's condition, then their diet is working for them. But I just wanted you to understand that the pancreas produces the insulin that processes the sugar, the sweet in our body. All right, let's move along to the spleen. The spleen. Spleen technically is part of the lymphatic system because it helps with antibodies. So the spleen is a part of the lymphatic system. It's also in the upper left part. So the liver and the spleen are side by side. It's not a vital organ because you can live without it. And sometimes if it's damaged, say in a car accident or through a rough sport, then part of it is removed. And for some people, the spleen actually grows back. The body is amazing, isn't it? Oh, honestly. But if for someone who doesn't have a spleen, they may be, not always, but maybe more vulnerable to infections because the spleen filters the blood. It gets rid of like defective red blood cells. It's also in charge of producing antibodies. There's a lot of antibodies that get produced here, but we're going to look, there's a number of different places in the body that we produce antibodies, but the spleen is one place. Whoa, let's move into the digestive tract. Okay, so this is the digestive system. A part of the digestive system is the stomach. And the stomach is an enlarged part of the digestive tract that can expand to accommodate the food. I have another picture of this. Where are we? Okay, so the stomach accumulates, on average, it'll accumulate about 2 liters of food and liquid, and it's responsible for secreting the digestive juices that contain the enzymes that initiate the digestion of proteins. So digestion actually starts in the mouth, right? Gnaw, 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 chew, chew, chew. With a little hydrochloric acid in the mouth, we swallow the food, it goes into the stomach, more digestive juices, pancreas kind of kicks in, more digestive enzymes. And the stomach on average, I just wanted to just get a visual on that 2 liters. So, you know, a 2-liter bottle of Coke, that's a lot of food, right? And we don't always need that much food. So just kind of gauge, you know, how much do you want to put into your stomach? So we know what a stomach is. When our stomach, it gets upset, oh, we rub the belly, right? Oh, we rub the belly. Yeah. What comes after the stomach, and we see it here in this picture, here's the stomach. And then from the stomach, we've got a lot of real estate here. And that is the small intestines. The small intestine is the largest component of the digestive system. It's about 6 meters. Now, we're here in the US. How many, I'm going to put this in the chat, how many feet are average in a meter? Do you remember? I'm going to pause here for just a second. How many feet are in a meter, huh? That's why I'm going, because I want you to understand kind of how long the small intestines is, because we think the large intestines is longer, but it's actually the small intestines. Cannot find our little people. Okay, no big deal. All right, so there's 3 feet, an average of 3 feet in a foot. It's so 3 feet in a meter. Yeah. So 3 times 6 is what? Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Milka. Yes. And unit shapes, yes, 18. 3 times 6 is 18. And so, yes, we have about 18 feet of small intestines. That's a lot. And they're all scrolled up into our belly. So the initial section of the small intestine is called the duodenum. I always thought there was a third D in there. Duodenum. And right here, I've pointed it out. See, this is that C shape. So right after it comes off the stomach, that's the initial section. And this is that C-shaped section of the small intestines. On the MBLEx, if you see duodenum, it is a part of the small intestines. And this is where bile comes in. And it has, it has a lot of folds. The small intestines has just a lot of folds. And this is the location also of, where we absorb most of our nutrients and minerals, right here in the small intestines. So we digest in the stomach, we absorb in the small intestine. And the end of the small intestines, I think you can see this pretty well. It's called the Ilium. And it gets a little bit more narrow because we're going to move into, it actually has a little valve. It's called the ileocecal. So the ileum has the ileocecal valve. And that just allows food to leave the small intestines, the digested food to leave the small intestines, but not come back in. Yeah, and the small intestines, that's where the majority of the digestion takes place. That's where the majority of the absorption takes place. So we do a lot of gastric juices in the belly, in the stomach, and then it moves into the small intestines. That's where the rest of digestion and absorption takes place, the majority of digestion. And then we move to the large intestine. And so the large intestine, it's named so because it's a larger diameter. So the small intestine is smaller in diameter, but it's longer in length, about 18 feet. And then the large intestine is composed of the ascending colon, you'll see here, the transverse colon, the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, and then the rectum. So this is, and when you learn abdominal massage, we're mostly looking at the abdominal massage of the large intestine. The small intestine is kind of in, and then the large intestine is up and out and around. So we have ascending colon here on the left, on the right side, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon. And so again, like after a big meal after Thanksgiving, and we're sitting there rubbing our stomach, we're normally rubbing it in the direction of digestion, a clockwise motion. So in the large intestine, this is where the absorption of water happens. This is also where we produce poop, fecal matter. So if we're talking about poop in the treatment room, we're talking about fecal matter. And we do want to be sensitive. There are times where people have had a procedure where they've got a colonoscopy bag or an ostomy bag, where they have it for either a short amount of time because there's been an interruption in their large intestine, or their large intestine isn't working. I've had several clients who've had colonic bags, colonoscopy bags, colonoscopy, ostomy. It's really an ostomy bag, but the colon ostomy bag. And what it does is it collects the fecal matter because they're not able, for whatever reason, whether there's an interruption, a cross section of the colon has been separated, either through surgery or injury, or through having to take out a big chunk of it, maybe disease. There are some people who have a colostomy bag for life. There are other people who have a colostomy bag for a short amount of time. but we do want to be sensitive about that as massage therapists, and use the more scientific terms. Oh, yes, you have a colostomy bag. I understand. It collects the fecal matter. Yep. And so, I mean, it's no big deal. It does not change your massage at all, other than to avoid the area. But just know that the large intestine is where the water gets absorbed, and that's where fecal matter, poop, where fecal matter is formed. Ooh, okay. Oh, and the feces are large, formed in the large intestines, and then they come out of the rectum, right? Good. All right, let's look at the other side of that equation, the bladder. Bladder is actually hollow. It's a muscular organ that's hollow. It stores urine until it's ready to be eliminated. And when the bladder is full, we urinate. Here's the location of the bladder. This is a male because it has a prostate. Oh, and a penis, haha, and testes. But nice. Here's the so the kidneys. Remember that picture leads to the bladder, the ureters, and we're going to look at the urinary system in a moment. Today, right here, now we're just talking about one part of the urinary system, the bladder. But you can see the entire uretary system. So here are the ureters. That's coming from the kidneys, right? And here's the urethra, which takes the urine from the bladder and sends it out, sends it on its way. Now, as luck would have it, there's a lot of English words that sound alike. But a very different organ of the body is the uterus. And the uterus is located in females. And so inside the pelvic cavity, which is our hips, right? Our hips, lower region, the pelvic cavity is the uterus. It's elastic, it's very pliable, and the uterus is responsible for menstruation, pregnancy. It's where the fetus lives. It helps that muscular elastic organ also helps in childbirth. And the uterus is where the baby grows. It's where the fetus lives, is sheltered after fertilization. So we're going to learn a little bit more about the reproductive system here, but this is one part of it, the uterus. And some of us have one, so we know what it does. All right, and then the ovaries. These guys are oval shaped, and they're also located in the pelvic cavity. There's the uterus again. The vagina. This is when we get our annual exams. The doctor will put a tool, put a speculum in through the vagina to take a sample of the wall of the uterus. They are not taking samples of the ovaries. The ovaries live outside the uterus. And the ovaries produce hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and they also, this is where the eggs are stored. So for childbirth, there needs to be an egg and sperm. The sperm fertilizes the egg, and the child grows in the uterus. The prostate. Ladies, do you know what a prostate is or where it's located? So prostates are only in men, another organ of the body. And the prostate surrounds a portion of the urethra. So you'll see here, here's the prostate. Okay, so prostate gland, here's the bladder, here's that coming out of the bladder. So it's not the ureters, it's the urethra coming out of the bladder, right? So the prostate surrounds a part of that urethra. It's called the prostatic urethra. And so when there's an enlargement of the prostate, it can obstruct peeing in men, because when it gets enlarged, it squishes down on that tube. So it's around the urethra. The the prostate is, and it can put pressure on that tube, which will make the bladder feel full, but the man can't pee because there's pressure from the prostate. And so the prostate produces some of the secretions that form semen. It's not, I'll get to that in just a moment. I'll pause and stay on the prostate. So, so the prostate produces the secretion that forms semen. It's not the sperm. It's about the secretion that the sperm go in. And so, so during an exam, the way that doctors check for an enlarged prostate is through here, through the rectum, because just parallel, just behind the rectum, just behind the rectum is the prostate. And that is part of a man's annual exam, is to check the prostate. And different doctors do it a different way, but traditionally it's through the rectum. And this is, this can be a big issue, especially for men of a certain age or men that have been raised a certain way. But prostate enlargement can be the sign of a disease. So if a man is having trouble peeing, it's a very good idea to have their prostate checked. Prostate cancer is one of the most curable kinds of cancer. So it's good to know where it is and why and what the symptoms are if it's enlarged. It doesn't always mean there's disease. An enlarged prostate can be the result of, golly, all sorts of different things. Diet, exercise, but sometimes it's the result of disease. And that's when we want to treat it. That's when we want to look further. All right. The testicles, also another organ. These are only in men. They're the male gonads, and this is where the sperm is produced. So we've got the prostate up here, which creates the semen, the lubrication, and this is where the sperm is produced in the testes. So the testes also produce other hormones. They produce testosterone, and that is a feeling of well-being for a man. It's really important that a man have good levels of testosterone. Boy, can they get cranky if they don't. And there are different ways to supplement testosterone. Look, just like everything, just like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, we produce less as we get older. We produce less. If someone loses one of their testicles, they, sometimes the other one will kick up, but sometimes not. And so there are different ways to supplement that. That's out of the scope of our practice. There's creams, there's oral, there's injections, there's oral. You can take testosterone in different ways. But do know that hormone levels, testosterone levels, and estrogen levels are really important for people feeling good. Our almost last organ. I think this is our last organ. And then we'll move into dissecting some questions. Let's take a look at the brain, because there are 3 glands, 3 organs in the brain. The brain is an organ, but it has 3 glands in there I want to tell you about. So the brain is a part of the central nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord. The brain controls our skeletal muscles. We have 3 types of muscles, right? Skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. The only voluntary muscle, skeletal. And it comes, so our skeletal muscles, right? The muscles that move our skeleton are controlled by the brain. This is where we have learning. This is where we house our emotions. This is where we house our memory. And the left and the right sides of the brain have some different roles and responsibilities. The brain has 2 hemispheres, left and right, and it has 2 regions, the white and the gray. So the brain is the largest organ in our nervous system. It is not the largest organ. Our largest organ is our skin. But our brain controls all the impulses. It is our central nervous system. Neurons are are the nerve connections, and neurons are what are processing all of the information that our brain is sending out. Neurons are those connections. to the peripheral nervous system, and to the organs of the body. So the brain basically produces hormones, releases them into the body. It processes information that we receive through the senses. It controls the muscles of our movement. This is our brain, is where we reason, where we can memorize, where we have our memory, and where we learn new things. There's a term that describes the brain called neuroplasticity. I'll put that in the chat. Neuroplasticity. In neuroplasticity, plastic, right? So some plastic is really hard, but some plastic, like a plastic bag, is really soft, right? Neuroplasticity refers to the pliability of our brain, the softness, the pliability of our brain. And studies have found, research has found, that by doing certain activities, we can increase the neuroplasticity of our brain. That's another topic for another day. The 3 glands in the brain that I want to mention to you are the hypothalamus, the pineal, and the pituitary. Have you heard of these? Yes, they are all in the brain, and they do different things. So if you see these questions on the MBLEx, the hypothalamus, the pineal, or the pituitary, all in the brain. Let's take a look. The hypothalamus is the bridge between the nervous system and the hormones. It secretes hormones. It controls the secretion of hormones that affect the pituitary gland. And the hypothalamus is what receives the signals from the central nervous system. And it's way down in here. See, hypothalamus? This little orange thing right down in here. Way down deep. Pituitary gland. The pituitary you might have heard of. It produces all sorts of hormones, and that regulate all sorts of specific organs. Let's take a look at a few. So growth hormone. Now so growth hormone is this little blue dot right in here, pituitary gland. Right. So growth hormone controls our growth. This is what bodybuilders replicate synthetically, is growth hormone. That's why some bodybuilders get really, really big. Yeah, they have synthetic growth hormone, but it's produced by the pituitary. We've got a thyroid stimulating hormone. We've got prolactin. Prolactin is what helps mothers produce milk after childbirth. We've got an MSH, the melanocyte, and that's melanin, the tone of the color of our skin. So that hormone protects the skin from UV rays. It also helps with the pigment of our skin. It helps with control of appetite. One other, the hormone ACTH, it produces cortisol. So that's from the pituitary gland. ADH, and that's is a hormone that has to do with, it's a diuretic, to retain water and to release water. You don't need to know all those, by the way, at all. You don't need to memorize the hormones that the pituitary gland secretes. Know a few, know that they are produced by the pituitary gland. That will be enough. Last gland I want to mention, and that is your pineal gland, and that's here, this little blue, royal blue. And the pineal gland is responsible for your sleep cycles. So it receives information through the retinas in your eye, whether it's light or dark. And then that gland is going to produce melatonin, and that will elevate your levels of melatonin during the evening and lower them during light. So the pineal gland controls that. Last one, thymus. Yes, I did have one more. Thymus, not to be confused with other organs in the body, other glands in the body. It's a glandular organ here, right below the thyroid, but above, just at the top of the breastbone. Why do we care about the thymus? Now, a lot of people think that's in the brain. It is not in the brain. It is in this chest region just at the top. So the thyroid is here. Thyroid is like a little butterfly-shaped gland. The thymus is below it. And it's a part of the immune system. And the why we care is because different lymphocytes mature here in the thymus. T cells, one of them, T, thymus. It helps us to fight infection. It helps us to adapt to and fight any microorganisms that are invading. The thymus is a part of the immune system, and T cells mature here. All right, that's it. Woo! Let's go into dissecting some questions, huh? All right, let's take a little break. Let's take just a little quick 30-second shake break. Little shake break. Yeah? All right, let's take a look at everybody. Little shake break. Shake it off, shake it off. Do your little tay-tay. Okay? Do your little queen bee. Shake it off. All right. Good. Good. All right. So next we're going to go into dissecting some questions. Let's take a look. We have 5 questions. If you need to hop off, I understand we're knocking on 1 o'clock, but it'll take us probably about 10 more minutes to get through our dissecting of the questions. All right. So, identify a role that is not performed by the liver. Great. Right out of the bat, we are seeing a tough question. Identify a role that is not performed by the liver. So key part here, right? Not. So let's go to eliminating one wrong answer. Ooh, Juliana's jumping right in. Okay. So one role that is not performed by the liver. So take a good look at these answers. They're long, right? So the production of bile, a liquid containing electrolytes, lipids, proteins, and pigments that has a pivotal role in the digestive process. B, responsible for the formation of urine. C, a vital internal organ of the human body, transforming substances that are harmful to the body into other harmless substances. Detox. D, helps digest fats and is capable of manufacturing proteins. All right, I see you guys. You're getting it. All right, let's take a look. Now we know, so we're looking for the role that is not performed by the liver. Did you get that? Not performed by the liver. So we're going to eliminate an answer that we know the liver does. All right, and most of us remember that the liver is a vital organ that detoxifies. So we're going to get rid of letter C because we know it does do that. All right, let me check the chat and see what our answers are. Good, good. I know, this is a tricky one, Be very careful. Identify a role that is not performed by the liver. Ready? The best answer is letter B, B like boy. The liver is not responsible for the formation of urine. Right? So the kidneys are responsible for the formation of urine. Yeah. All right. Careful, careful. That's why we do these things. That's why careful, careful. What 3 glands, are located in the brain? We just did this one. Yay. What 3 glands are located in the brain? A, the thymus, hypothalamus, and pituitary. B, the thyroid, pituitary, and pineal. C, the hypothalamus, pineal, and pituitary. D, the adrenal, pineal, and pituitary. Ooh, Ooh, look at this. Everybody's got an answer. Oh, I know, yeah. I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. Hey, hey, it's tricky. Remember that song? All right. What 3 glands? Okay, so let's get rid of one wrong answer. And we're looking for 3 glands located in the brain. There's one answer in there that you know one of those is not in the brain. And I hope that you know that the adrenal glands are not in the brain. Good. Okay. A, B, or C. What 3 glands are located in the brain? Best answer, boom, the hypothalamus, the pineal, and the pituitary. Yay, good job. We just learned where the thyroid was and where the thymus was. Thyroid, thymus, right? Good. Oh, I just gave you an answer. Where is the thymus gland located? It's in the brain near the pineal gland. B, it's in the abdominal cavity near the liver. C, it's a part of the reproductive system. D, it's in the chest below the thyroid. All right. We're still going to eliminate one wrong answer. It's not part of the reproductive system. And I see all of our answers coming in rather quickly. Yes, the best answer is D. The thymus is in the chest below the thyroid. Okay, it's kind of in the upper part of the chest, though. Just remember that. And why do we care? Why do we care about the thymus? Why do we care?
Because
Go ahead, shout it out. What's produced there? What's it?
the T cells.
T cells, thank you. It's part of the immune system. It helps us to fight microorganisms because T cells mature in the thymus. So, yes, thank you. Oh, let's see, other answers. Yes, Juliana, yes. Yes, unit shapes, leukocytes, exactly. T cells, leukocytes. Yes, that's why we care about the thymus. The pancreas is an organ and a gland of the digestive system. It produces it produces 2 major substances. What are they? A, insulin and digestive enzymes. B, insulin and bile. C, bile and digestive enzymes. D, bile and adrenaline. What is a wrong answer? What is the wrong? Do we know a wrong answers? Yes, good, Namika. Thank you. Good to see you, by the way. Oh, yes, somebody just gave me the wrong answer. And yes, correct. So we know that adrenaline is not produced by the pancreas, right? Adrenal glands, adrenaline. It's on, yeah. All right. So let's take a look at that best answer. What's going to be our best answer? The pancreas produces 2 major substances. What are they? Best answer? Oh, that is not correct. It is insulin and digestive enzymes. It is not insulin and bile. I am incorrect in that answer. It is letter A, insulin and digestive enzymes. Thank you. A. Bile is produced by the liver. My bad. I'll fix the slide. But it's insulin and digestive enzymes. Hey, every now and then a question is wrong. And by the way, if you find a question on your quizzes or your practice exam that you think is inaccurate, let me know. Please shoot me a note. Be like, yo, I think I got this one right. That happens sometimes. Very rarely, but it happens sometimes.
Yes, there was one that I seen that it was wrong.
Oh.
It was right, but it was the question that I picked. It was the right one, but it said it was wrong. And then I clicked all of them, and it said they were all like wrong, and I'm like, okay.
Tanya, if that happens, please shoot me a little note. Just screenshot your test, or make a little note of it on a piece of paper, and let me know, and I'll fix it.
I think I did screenshot it, and I meant to send it to you, and I'm gonna go back to my pictures and I'll
cool.
Send it to
All
you.
right. let's finish this off. In which organ does most of digestion take place? So in which organ does most of digestion take place? Is it in A, the stomach, B, the small intestine, C, the large intestine, or D, the rectum? Yes, we're going to get rid of one wrong answer. We know digestion doesn't happen in the rectum, right? That's the outdoor. It's on its way out. All right. So it's already been digested. It's turned into fecal material by the time it gets to the rectum. Yes. So the best answer, in which organ does most of digestion take place? Best answer, small intestines, right? So in that 18 feet of small intestines that we have is where the majority of digestion and absorption takes place. Woo-hoo! Thank you for hanging in there. This was a lot today, right? Woo! You are now at the finish line for today. But it's the start line of the rest of your week, of our time between classes. And isn't it funny how some finish lines are also start lines? You know, it's the same way with the MBLEx. Your finish line, you passing the MBLEx, you passing your state's test, it's a finish line. But it's also a start line. And so, I'm just so glad that you guys are taking this time. Congratulations. Thank you for taking this time to prepare for your exam. This exam is no joke. Many of you have failed it once, twice, 3 times, because it's no joke. The stuff we just covered, will you ever need to know that in your treatment room? Maybe 10% of it. Do you need to know it to pass the test? You did. You do. And so I will wrap up our recording by reminding you that my name is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course. I am so delighted to be with you on this part of your journey, to be your accountability buddy, to show up with you, for you, as you prepare to calmly and confidently pass the MBLEx. So that's all for this week, but we'll see you again next week. Same place, same time, same channel. Catch up soon.